Hey everyone, notes 2.3 are on subtracting polynomials, and the way we're going to do this is almost identical to what we do when we're trying to add polynomials. We just have one little extra step. So what we need to do is, the first thing is distribute, and we've learned how to distribute. If we have any negatives, we're going to distribute the negative to its appropriate expression. We're going to go through this example with these different steps. So what that means is I'm going to take the original expression that I have here. I'm just going to copy that down. And because there's nothing to distribute in front right here, I'm not going to need brackets anymore. Now, when we say distribute that negative through, what that means is we're going to take this minus sign, this negative, and this is saying minus this entire expression. So we're going to distribute this through to each one of these terms here. So I'm going to distribute it to the positive 4x squared, which will make it negative 4x squared. I'm going to distribute it to the positive 8x, which would make this a negative 8x. So I would write down minus 8x here. And then I would distribute it to this minus 6, which would become a plus 6, because when we distribute, a negative times a negative would be a positive. This is like having double signs. We don't want to have our double signs anymore. One quick note that I want to mention, again, this 3x squared minus 2x plus 5, we keep that the same. Essentially, what we're doing right here when we distribute this negative is we're just saying it's minus everything inside of here. So this becomes minus a positive 4x squared. This right here becomes minus a positive 8x, and this right here becomes minus a negative 6. But remember, we don't want any double signs. So instead of minus a positive, we just say minus. Instead of minus a positive here, we say minus again. And instead of minus a negative here, we say positive 6. So when we're distributing our negative through, we're just changing all of our signs. Okay, so once we do that, everything else is exactly the same as when we are adding polynomials. So we're going to underline each like term in a different way. So here we've got 3x squared and we have negative 4x squared. Those are like terms because they both have the same variable and the same exponent. So if team positive won 3 points here and team negative won 4 points here, then team negative won the game. So we can say negative, and they won by 1 point. So this is negative 1x squared. We can put the 1 here, but we don't have to. We can just say negative x squared. Now, just a reminder, the only time that you add your exponents is when you are multiplying. And because we are just collecting like terms, if we've got 3 of something and we take away 4 of that something, that means we now have negative 1 of the same something. All right, cool. We also want to do the same thing for negative 2x. So what's like negative 2x? Negative 8x, because they both have x's on them, and so they have the exact same exponent of 1. So right here, I've got team negative, team positive still. Team negative won the 2 points right here. And team negative also won these 8 points right here. So that means that team negative won the game, so I'll put a minus sign, by 10 points. Now these are 10 x's because we had negative 2x and negative 8x. All right, fantastic. Last thing that we're going to do here is we have a 5 here and we have a 6 here. And those are like terms because they're constants. So 5 plus 6 is 11. So this right here would be my answer. By the way, I forgot to do step 3. Every time you have a new set of like terms, this should really say set of like terms. Collect them or combine them. And then lastly, make sure your answer is written in descending order. All right, let's go ahead and do this in our first example. So the first thing we want to do here is to distribute the negative to its appropriate expression. So right here, I've got 8y squared plus 2y. I just keep that the same. And then I'm going to distribute this negative through to the 3y squared and the 7y. So when I have a positive 3y squared here, it becomes a negative 3y squared. And when I have this positive 7y here, when I distribute the negative through, it becomes negative 7y. Let's collect our like terms. So we've got 8y squared is like negative 3y squared. So 8 minus 3 is 5. So I've got 5y squared. And then here I've got 2y and negative 7y. So team positive 1 the 2 points here, team negative 1 the 7 points, so team negative 1 by 5 points, so this is negative 5y. Okay, in example number 2, there's nothing in front of any of these terms right here, so I'm just going to copy it down and I don't need any brackets anymore. And then I'm going to distribute this negative through here. So when I distribute this negative to this 7x to the power of 3, I get minus 7x to the power of 3. When I distribute it to the negative 9x squared, I get positive 9x squared. When I distribute it through to the 2x, I get negative 2x. And then when I distribute this through to the positive 4, it becomes a negative 4. So now, all I have to do here is collect my like terms. So we have 3x cubed is like negative 7x cubed. And if I were to do the scoreboard for that, team positive won the 3 points, team negative won the 7 points, so team negative won the game by 4 points. So this is negative 4x cubed. Then I have negative 4x squared, and that's like positive 9x squared. So here, team negative won the 4 points, team positive won the 9 points, so team positive won by 5 points. Next, I have a positive 4x and a negative 2x. So 4 minus 2 is just 2. So I can just say here that this is 2x. And then lastly, I have this negative 2 right here, which is like this negative 4. So let's go ahead and use the scoreboard for that. So team negative won the 2 points, team negative also won the 4 points, so team negative won by 6 points, and this is my final answer right here. All right, in number 3, I'm going to copy down this first expression because there's nothing in front right here to distribute through. And then I'm going to distribute this negative through here. So I'm going to change all my signs. So this 3r cubed becomes a negative 3r cubed. This 2r squared becomes a negative 2r squared. This 7 becomes a negative 7. So now I'm going to look and see, do I have any like terms? So 6r to the power of 4. There's nothing else that has a 6r to the power of 4, so I'm just going to write that one down. Okay? This r right here, there's nothing else that has an r, so I'm just going to write that one down. It's a positive r. This 3 that we see right here, there's a negative 7 like that, like the 3. Team positive won the 3 points here. Team negative won the 7 points here. So team negative won the game by 4 points. Then we also have negative 3r to the power of 3. So I'm just going to copy that down because there's nothing else like it. And same thing with this right here, this negative 2r squared, nothing is like it, so I'm just going to copy that one down as well. Lastly, I just have to make sure that my answer is written in descending order. So I'm going to start with the highest exponent. R to the power of 4 is the highest exponent. Then I have negative 3r cubed next because that's the next highest exponent. Next one after that is this negative 2r squared. So I will write down negative 2r squared. Then after that we have a positive r. And then after that, we have a negative 4. And this would be my final answer. All right, last one of these. So this one's really tricky. Pay really close attention to what we're going to do here. Because there's nothing in front of this bracket here, I'm just going to copy everything down in this set of brackets exactly how I see it. Okay, there's nothing that needs to be distributed. Now I'm going to take this negative and I'm going to distribute it through to every single one of these numbers inside of my bracket. So when I distribute it to this positive 6y squared, it becomes a negative 6y squared. When I distribute it to the negative 12, it becomes a positive 12. When I distribute it to a negative 3y, it becomes a positive 3y. And when I distribute it to a 2y squared, it becomes a negative 2y squared. I stop at this point because my bracket has closed. So I'm done distributing the negative. There's nothing else to distribute the negative to. So over here, because this is a plus sign, when I distribute the plus sign through, it doesn't change anything, right? A positive stays a positive, a negative stays a negative. Okay, again, same thing because right here, this is just saying plus negative 8y cubed. This is the plus here, this is the minus here, and the two signs become a negative over here. Okay, so let's go ahead and look and see, do we have any like terms? So we've got a 12y cubed here, and I have a negative 8y cubed here. So team positive won the 12 points. Team negative 1, the 8 points, so team negative 1 by 4 points. So this is 4y cubed. Now, at this point in time, I'm going to be strategic about doing this. I'm going to put this in descending order at the same time that I'm collecting my like terms. So I'm not going to deal with this negative 9y right now. I'm going to go to the next lowest term, which is the y to the power of 2. So I've got negative 6y squared. I also have negative 2y squared and positive 2y squared. Well, if I do negative 6 minus 2, that's negative 8, and then negative 8 plus 2 is negative 6. Also, I can just see that for sure this negative 2y squared and this positive 2y squared become 0. They cancel out. So I get negative 6y squared here next. All right, cool. Next, we have negative 9y. I'm going to go to the next lowest exponent. So here was a 2. I'm going to look for 1s now. So if this right here is negative 9y, we're going to collect that with 8y and 3y. So let's go ahead and do the scoreboard for that. So if I look right here, team negative 1, 9 points, team positive 1, 8 points, and team positive 1, another 3 points. So here I can see team negative 1, 9, team positive 1, 11. So team positive 1, so I'm going to write a plus sign, and they won by 2 points. So I'm going to write plus 2y. And then lastly, I have a positive 2 and a positive 12. These are constants, so those are also like terms. So I'll write plus 14, and I'm done over here. Okay, so for perimeter in question number 5, this time I'm given the perimeter and I want to figure out what the missing piece is. So I know 4 out of the 5 sides right here. Well, just like if I told you the perimeter of this triangle right here was 18, and I tell you right here that this number is 5, this number is 6, and I ask you to find out what this number is, you probably would just add the 5 and the 6 together, get 11, and then subtract that from the perimeter. Then you do 18 minus 11, which is 7, right? So now we know that this question mark is equal to 7 because we added up what we knew and then we subtracted it from the total perimeter. So this is the same exact idea. So first thing we want to do is add what we know. So I know that I have and I'm just going to do this all on the figure so I don't have to write this all out. So we've got 5x squared here, and nothing else is like that 5x squared, so I'm just going to copy that down. Okay, then I also have a 4x here, and that's like 7x, which is also like 13x. So when I add all of these numbers together, and it doesn't matter what order you do it in, so this is easier for me to add 13 plus 7, that gives me 20, plus another 4 gives me 24x, okay? Then I'm going to collect my constants. So I also have a positive 3, a negative 9, and a negative 4. So team positive 1, 3 points, team negative 1, 9 points, and team negative also 1, 4 points. So team negative 1, 13 points, team positive 1, 3 all together. So team negative 1 by 10 points. Well, now that we've done that, we can subtract what we know from the perimeter. And we know that our perimeter is equal to this whole expression up here. Now, brackets are really important when we do this. So I am going to take this 12x squared that I have here plus 25x plus 8, and I need to subtract this entire expression that we have right here. So the 5x squared, the 24x, and the negative 10. There's nothing I can do with this first expression, so I'm just going to copy that down, but I can distribute that negative through to my second expression. So this 5x squared becomes a negative 5x squared. This 24x becomes a negative 24x. And this negative 10 becomes a positive 10. And now we can go ahead and collect our like terms right here. So here we can see that 12x squared is like negative 5x squared. So when you put those two together, you end up getting 7x squared. Then we have this 25x and this negative 24x. And so 25 minus 24 would give us 1. So I could write 1x or just x. And then lastly, we have this 8, and that's like this 10. So 8 plus 10 is 18. So here I can just say plus 18. And this is my missing side. So this is this side over here. We'll give you a chance to try number 6 in class. So that's it for this video. Make sure to ask questions if you have any, and we will see you next time in class. Bye.